Dear My Review Aaron Fischer YouTube channel, um, the guy that pretty much acts like they need to make Zack Snyder universe, the Snyderverse for DC, even though it wasn't even for sure that he would continue from there. There was plenty of movies that were planned to make a whole franchise that didn't happen because it failed. And a 4-hour movie in theaters that doesn't have a really good track record, seamless track record of succeeding, is a pretty bad idea because 4-hour movies usually don't work that well in theaters because of the show times and stuff. And also, if you're saying they could shorten it by a lot, that could damage the success of the movie because it's taking out context of the movie, blah 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 and stuff. And you seem to pretend that Zack Snyder is the only one that can do DC, even though DC's been around way longer and was way more successful when it first started out. For example, there was a Superman that met I Love Lucy, and it was a crossover from their Superman show, and that Superman show was very successful, and the only reason why that show ended was because that the Superman actor sadly passed away by suicide, and it was very sad, and it surprised everybody. And I think you don't know that. And also, you seem to Aaron Fischer, My Review Aaron Fischer, you need to change that channel name because I don't want to say that whole thing all the time, but you seem to be against animated movies, even though DC's animated movie division is the one that's winning compared to compared to Marvel, and their animated division of rated R adult animation for DC is the main thing that DC fans talk about. Like the Killing Joke animated movie, that was like pretty big, and it seemed like you're against humor in DC, even though DC stuff usually has a lot of jokes sprinkled throughout in their animated division. And also Superman's more lighthearted, and he would sort of joke around with people. And you're very close-minded about animation and shows and stuff. I saw that you reviewed a little bit of the Titan show, so you're not completely against shows, I guess. But if anything, I just think you're just wanting something and pretending that it was successful, because you even said that DC tends to go to the path of hiring people that fail and firing people that succeed. But Zack Snyder never made $1 billion in any of his DC stuff, and movie budgets in that scale, that level of movie budget, usually would aim at $1 billion, because it's kind of how it works. Like, spend 100,000 or spend whatever amount, make it $1 billion, use some of that to make the sequels. But no. And you also seem to think that because people like the Joker movie and the Batman movie, and those are dark, people like that dark, and then you say, oh, then if people like those movies, why are you so against the Zack Snyder stuff that are dark? It's two different situations. It's two separate things. It was obvious that the Joker thing and then the Batman thing was a separate thing from the DC universe. Because it was separate, because it wouldn't connect through other stuff, people see it as a separate thing, watch it, enjoy the story and everything, and move on. Versus if it's an entire universe that is dark and people don't really like dark that much, they would stop watching it. They would stop enjoying it. But a short little movie you watch is dark. It's like, oh, this is really good. I don't tell other people to watch it. But a whole universe. And also, you didn't like The Flash. It was like, oh, it was all a comedy. It was a comedy movie. Well, I think it's because Aquaman was a comedy, and that made $1 billion. That was like the only DC extended universe movie that made $1 billion. And Shazam, the original Shazam, did well enough to make a sequel. Of course, the sequel probably failed, but still. And Shazam was all comedy too. If you succeed at one thing, keep doing that one thing that makes you successful. I believe so. But of course, you're being very nitpicky about stuff. And you're saying the Snyder Cut of Justice League was really good, yet it wasn't full screen. And you say it's because it's supposed to be an IMAX thing. How many people have IMAX screens? Because it wasn't really in theaters. And not all theaters have IMAX screens. Even if it was in theaters. You want a whole trilogy of screen that cuts off both sides of the screen. A whole trilogy of that. That's dumb to me. But sorry I'm rambling so much, but to me, I'm all in for James Gunn. Because at least he has a plan. Zack Snyder doesn't seem like he knows comic books. Even though you said you're a fan of DC, you don't watch any animated stuff. That takes away a huge portion of DC stuff. And of course, that means you didn't watch the original Teen Titans cartoon, which everyone really praised so much that they bashed Teen Titans Go. You didn't even watch Batman animated series, which was really big. Brought famous people in to become really well known, and it just seems like you tend to avoid a huge portion of a entire company that you entire property that you tend to say that you're a fan of. But also, James Gunn points out writers of comics, points out each name that was inspired by that they're planning on making a movie with. When did Zack Snyder mention any of that? When did Zack Snyder say that this movie that I'm making is based on this comic, or even inspired by, or even I talked to the DC writer? When did he say any of that? And having Superman pretty much a carbon copy of Batman is pretty confusing to me. Because initially, I thought Superman was kind of the opposite of Batman. Light, hopeful, and likes Earth, and friendly to everybody, saves as many people as he wants, as he can, and Batman specifically usually saves some. It has a rule of not killing and everything, but of course, yeah, and of course, the place he's from is all bright and colorful and everything. His city's kind of the brightness of I don't know, Chicago or something like that. And Batman is from Gotham, and Gotham is kind of like New York, but the grungy New York, the dark, crime-ridden New York kind of situation. So they're complete opposites, but seem like Zack Snyder thinks that they're exactly the same. And of course, Zack Snyder didn't think of telling DC that he wanted to make shows, or if he wanted to make animated stuff. I guess that's why Aaron Fischer likes Zack Snyder, because he doesn't like animation, and he's gonna avoid every animated project that James Gunn plans on. And I don't even think he's Aaron Fischer is a gamer, so any game that James Gunn plans on having in the universe, he's gonna ignore that. And yeah, because none of Aaron Fisher's videos talk about DC games. But I think that having a multimedia thing connected to the same universe is way better than only having like a few movies and then a trilogy and then just, I guess, forgetting about everything else. I don't know, like, but sorry about talking about all this, but I just think I should make this long video just summarizing my thoughts about movie review Aaron Fischer. Still think that he needs to change that name. Just change his name to like DC Snyder Cultist, something like that. Because so far he's only been talking about DC. Even though his channel says Indiana Jones and Star Wars, and his background is all DC stuff. But Indiana Jones, Star Wars videos coming up, I guess. I'm not sure, but if he says he's a DC fan, you should just consume everything DC. But he'll never do that because he thinks live action movies are adult stuff and animated stuff are for kids. He even mentions that that new Superman show, animated show on the streaming site Max is childish. And he says it's weird that it's on Adult Swim, not knowing that Adult Swim has a lot of different animated shows that have so many different art styles and all that. Seemed like he never went to Adult Swim growing up. Sad childhood, I guess. Sad childhood that he didn't watch anything like that. At least teenager or something, because teenagers tend to watch that. I grew up with Adult Swim, so I'm kind of psyched for that. But yeah, I'm sorry about rambling too much, but yeah, my review, Aaron Fischer, is dumb. And people talking about him, it'll seem like they're talking about themselves because this is my review, Aaron Fischer. That's dumb.